We're live. When you're in your early 20s, like when you're still like kind of new to all those like romance and like relationship lovey-dovey kind of stuff, it hits you also harder. So then like when you're older, like, we're all kind of in our early 20s now, by the way. So yeah, so like it's different now. Like it doesn't hit us that hard anymore.
Yeah, we're in reality now. I think as early 20s, if you haven't dated that much, it's like everything you've learned is from like the dramas, the romantic movies and stuff like that. It's all like very surface level, and then you're hit with reality in your late 20s.
Yeah, I feel like in media, at least, that's a good point. Like they don't really talk about the things that actually do matter in real life. I mean, I guess they kind of do, but the things that they don't talk about, like things that are small and romantic, from like not related to relationship, but are related to like compatibility. Like, where do you see yourself in like 5 years, 10 years? Like, what are your thoughts on like money, family, a bunch of other things? Like, I guess it is nice to be focused on like the love affair of it all, which is why like young love is nice. But as we're not like, well, okay, we're young, but we're not like young, you know what I mean?
I think that's true. Yeah. I think like just to kind of piggyback off what you said, I think it's also as you grow older, as you have more experience, you start to take into consideration more factors that could potentially kind of pivot and steer the relationship in different directions. And I think like you just become more thoughtful, considerate, and probably wiser and like more experienced as you try to navigate relationships.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, relationships in like high school or college, it's all like puppy love a little bit, and like you don't have to worry about so many things. And like in your late 20s, it's more like, oh, you're looking for partnership.
Yeah, not just you're looking for partnership, not just
love.
Feeling. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess like this kind of like segues into like our maybe next question is like I guess navigating like these milestones per se, like for example, like because people generally celebrate maybe like 6 months, like a year, which is like anniversary, and then Valentine's. Like everybody like kind of has different like they highlight and they emphasize on these milestones differently, and so do you have like any stories to share and how you kind of weigh these different milestones in your personal relationships?
I guess I see it as like just taking time out to like appreciate each other and being grateful and like just celebrating it. I feel like it's kind of arbitrary, but you can like celebrate like any of these milestones. Yeah, similar to like finishing a sprint and.
You're right. It is very arbitrary. Like anniversaries, just like birthdays, don't really mean anything. Like in like the grand scheme of things, but it's a reminder of like why you're there, like of like the bond that you have. And so, like an anniversary might be a night to like to spend with each other. Same with Valentine's Day. It's like fun to like celebrate the bond itself, which I think is nice.
Yeah. But I guess even though it's arbitrary, it's like that's what makes life meaningful too.
True. Yeah.
I feel like it kind of goes back to what you said earlier about like kind of like to basically celebrate and kind of do different stuff together that actually freshens up the relationship. Like you're actually creating these events and shared memories and bonds together so that you actually would like create more shared experiences, and so it like kind of sustains or keeps that honeymoon phase or affectionate feeling toward each other for longer period of time.
I think it's a great way to like delight the other person and make each other happy and like make them feel appreciated.
Exactly.
Like employee of the month kind of thing.
Employee of the month.
It's employee of the month for every
Employee of the year.
Yeah.
It's you again.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it feels good to be recognized.
That's true. Actually, I think it's like that is something that is kind of overlooked sometimes. That you actually need to be like gratitude sometimes needs to be verbally expressed, and it's just like I think a lot of times maybe if you're like your natural love language isn't words of affirmation, but your partner's love language maybe words of affirmation, and you kind of have to sometimes like cave into their love language preference, right? And actually express your gratitude. I guess like this is a good time to maybe bring in love language. When it comes to love languages, like it's probably important that like your love language preferences are aligned, but when it's not, that's okay too. It's just like you need to maybe understand your partner's love language, and so you can actually tailor it to them.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess that's the helpful thing with like these traditions too. I feel like, for example, like going on a date once a week. If your love language is like quality time, or even I don't know, acts of service or something like that, planning a date. Yeah, building that into a routine so that you're not like deprived or like under loved. And
kind of rolls them all into one, I guess.
Yeah, it's important to set these routines. I feel like.
Thinking about it, I'm not sure what my top love language is actually. I would say.
I feel like everyone needs like all 5.
I think so. Yeah.
It's just like the order matters.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm not sure what this would be categorized as, but I feel like I don't really need it. But if somebody goes out of their way to do something that would like help me, that's like it's just active service. But yeah, that would mean a lot to me. And of course, there's others like physical. Like they're all fundamental, but one of them stands out. I guess as like if you would sacrifice something to help me out, like that means a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So like let's say like a scenario where like you were super swamped at work and super stressed out, and then like you had your dishwasher like filled with all these dirty dishes, and then like your partner kind of noticed that, and then like started the dishwasher. Like you probably feel really loved and grateful because they noticed that, right?
Yeah, and then you want to like reciprocate that, right? Like,
nice, yeah, totally. I think I would appreciate that as well.
I also think it changes depending on how much of what you get. Like if you never get physical touch, it'll probably slowly become your number one thing that you need because you're just not getting it at all.
Interesting. Yeah. Also, I wonder if it's like, what when you were growing up, like what you're used to as well, and then like, well, for me, it's like in adulthood, like, growing up, like my parents did a lot of like acts of service and things like that, and then growing up, like, I might, like now that I'm independent, it's like I lack it now, and then so maybe providing that for yourself might be important as well.
Yeah, I think like oftentimes like we think of love languages like your partner has to deliver do that for you, but like it's so okay to like for us to. It's actually really good for emotional maturity and growth to like to actually know what your love language is and love yourself the same way.
True. I think if you rely on your partner, maybe not. Of course, you should like expect love from them, but if your happiness depends on them doing certain things and you're not happy yourself, I feel like that's where it gets like more like codependency than like two independent people in a relationship who choose to be in a relationship with each other. Once you're in a codependency situation, it's hard to escape from that, I guess, like because it's work to drive yourself out of that emotionally and be on your own again.
Yeah, I also feel like you kind of get into these like maybe bad relationships until you learn these lessons of what it actually is a healthy relationship, and then you end up in a healthy relationship, like especially if you maybe grew up with not the best relationship with your parents, or you don't know what a super healthy relationship looks like, or like being in tune with your feelings and everything. Then you bring that you go into relationships and you're like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah, I think so. So like
familiar.
I guess like it's like when it hurts enough for you, and then that kind of instigates change from within rather than like actually someone else telling, hey, you're like in a toxic relationship. Because like when we always overlook those red flags until we are willingly.
Some lessons I feel like you just have to learn on your own. Like nobody can anybody like people can tell you exactly what situation you're in, and you can just hear that and just go when you're out the other. Like you just have like to go through some things, and then you'll know better.
Yeah.
I think we just gotta go through it, to be honest.
I think it's really easy to model your parents' interaction and like your own kind of family dynamics if you've witnessed so much of it growing up. Like even if you like resented it growing up, I feel like it's subconsciously you still like have adopted and modeled those behaviors, and like that's why like a lot of people that personally and a lot of people that I've talked to feel like even though they've feel like they're grown-ups now. Like they still feel like they're mirroring their parents' behaviors, or that they've become the person that they don't want to become, which are like their parents. And I feel like in some ways I've also modeled a lot of behaviors, and like especially in my past relationships as well. Like I feel like I've had a lot of codependent patterns in my relationships because I had a codependent relationship with my mom, and so it was like very, very just natural for me to kind of cave into those like tendencies. So yeah, I think maybe like need to kind of go back in time and um, solve your inner child and family traumas as well, to identify, like to actually like acknowledge that you have this pattern. Have you ever thought like maybe that like your close friends, like it doesn't even have to be like a partner or your girlfriend or boyfriend, like it can be like just like a friend who feels like who resembles like a member of your family member.
Oh, that feels like
that
family
feels
after a while, or that you can like map one to one. This person is like this person.
more like the latter. Cause like maybe you got really close with them because they gave off this vibe, or like feeling that kind of resembles their dynamic with like a really close family member. Have you ever thought of it this way?
No, I haven't. But I also
we think about it this way.
That's true. That's true.
I don't
That's
think
why
so.
I asked.
Now I'm curious to hear your answers. I don't think so. In my life,
Okay.
actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like that sibling thing. Like it was my friend Jasmine. Like she reminded me of my older sister, and I reminded her of her younger sister, and we just became friends so fast because it filled that gap that was kind of missing after we've grown into adulthood and moved out of our house and stopped like communicating as much with our siblings and stuff like that. It just felt super familiar really quickly, and she's also like Asian and very traditional and things like that. Something just felt really comfortable, or like we were on the same page for a lot of things. And even in terms of dating, sometimes I look for traits, or subconsciously look for traits that are similar to my parents, like maybe traders, or maybe they're from a part of China. I don't know. Sometimes like it just feels very familiar.
I see. So the familiar creates fondness.
Yeah, I guess so. And like I guess a deep trust or understanding almost. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that fundamental layer of like trust.
True.
It just builds quicker compared to like with someone that you like have no similarities.
Yeah.
And then bonds. Right?
Yeah. I guess if you understand, if you understand them really well, you can like get close much faster.
Yeah, that's true.
Or I think I would think it's wrong to have some sort of checklist of like red flags you won't tolerate for whatever reason, or like things you want in a partner.
Boundaries.
I do think though that a longer list will probably make it harder to, or a longer list of hard no's will make it harder to find somebody generally. But there is like some fundamental set of things that you just need to have, otherwise you just won't be fulfilled in that partner. So identifying what those fundamental things are, I think is it's a huge part of like finding the right partner.
Can you give some like examples of like what those fundamental things might be? Like on like a, is it more like on like an emotional level, or like a physical level, or spiritual level?
Or is it like boundaries? Like I won't tolerate physical abuse.
Like you should not tolerate physical abuse, or like any kind of like emotional abuse, or whatever, something like that. But things like you said, like your approach to life. Like some people might be like really high achieving, want to like strive to do more, do the most. Some people might be more chill, like Epicurean people, just want to like chill and enjoy life. That may or may not be a fundamental thing to you, but it could be. Or maybe like one person wants to live here, do these kind of things, you just don't want to do that, or not yet at least. So you need to figure out like, is that something that's fundamental to you or not?
I've also been finding that it's like sometimes our subconscious or our like gut or how we feel, our excitement, our level of excitement, like tells us way more than like trying to map it out like logically. I think historically I've been a very logic first type of person. But yeah, like our subconscious actually factors in everything and then tells you through your level of excitement when talking about someone, or your willingness or desire to see someone again and again and again.
Yeah,
there's so much more beyond a checklist. That's
like,
what you think you would want, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like there's like I agree with that. Like there's nothing wrong about like keeping a checklist so that you actually like maybe like won't give up on some boundaries and deal breakers that you have, but like it's yeah, maybe giving some like wiggle room and leeway for some of those criteria would be good. Like maybe you don't need someone who's like over 6'5", 6'5", or someone who's like a gym rat and works in this particular industry and like makes over 150K and like yada yada yada, like those super like detailed specific criteria, things like that you must share the same values, who is like willing to work hard for their dreams, and that they have done some sort of inner work, so that like you can grow together. Like I think those would be the types of things to look for, rather than like like really specific and really quantitative, so to speak, type of measures.
Makes sense.
I think like sometimes your kind of gut just like knows.
I sometimes feel like your gut like factors in all of these criteria, like
Yeah.
the values and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When there's alignment, you're like really excited or
Yeah.
like about something.
Yeah. That's true. There's kind of like underlying impetus to want to be closer to that person.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. Is it really the familiarity and the resemblance of a family member?
No, I'm sure many things.
Freud wins again.
Daddy issues. I used to be very anti-dating apps, because like I felt like it was very, very surface level. You're just like swiping based on like people's looks. But then like I feel like you can't really overlook that, right? Like the initial attraction is like important, and it does like act as like a catalyst for deeper connection as well, because you get to like talk to many people and like just try it out. Whereas, like,
you're right. Like it is the initial catalyst. Like it's not like the personality and the compatibility is important and it matters, but attraction also matters. Like it's not like it doesn't matter, and it's like it's not morally wrong to think it wouldn't work out because you're just not attracted to somebody, even if they have like the perfect personality. Like attraction is also part of like a spectrum of like things you would need from somebody to feel fulfilled yourself in that relationship. So
yeah. But I don't think it's always shallow. There's like a lot of objectively good-looking celebrities that you would think is attractive, but you're not attracted to them, right?
True,
Sometimes
exactly.
it's also the vibe and the way they speak. It's much more than just looks,
Yeah, attractiveness is very subjective.
Yeah. I think it takes like knowing yourself really well too, to like know what to look for. I think maybe I've been more careless with my time in the past, or if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, then you would need to, I don't know, discover and meet people to understand what you like and what you don't like. But I think if you know yourself really well, then you don't waste your time, and you'll know the things to look for, the things to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess if you're on a dating app, you should probably be like really opinionated about like what you like and what you don't like, and then not really put too much stock in it. Like maybe something good would come out of it. Something good would come out of it, but if nothing happens, like it's not the end of the world. I guess like it shouldn't be your entire dating world. I guess.
Yeah. I think also like a lot of people like believe they have a certain type too, but like
in practice is very different.
But in practice it's really different, and they don't actually get along. And it's like they look at their friends, and none of their friends are that type of person. Like with like what makes you think you would get along with this type of person, this very oddly specific type of person, if you don't have a single friend like that? Yeah.
When you kind of go in these conversations or like dates like with so much intention, it feels like it's a little bit suffocating, and it's like a lot of pressure on the other person as well, because like it's almost like a job interview, right? Like, are you gonna pass this interview with this person?
It's
like,
a phone screen.
And it's like a lot of pressure actually, and I feel like dating should just naturally progress.
Yeah, it seems like very all or nothing.
The progress.
Like it's either it feels like really uptight and spontaneity is gone, or you meet somebody, maybe you like them, but because it was so uptight and like so focused on the dating aspect, you probably missed out. Like the failure mode is you probably never see this person again, instead of you become good friends with somebody you could have been good friends with, but because it was so focused on like this date and everything, it just like there was no room to explore even friendship after, even though you might not be romantically compatible. Yeah. So then you just feel, so after that experience, like instead of gaining connection, you just like are left with that.
Yeah, it's like you're like only looking for love and you don't like accept anything else.
Yeah.
It's like also a little bit of like a tunnel vision kind of thing.
Yeah.
I guess
That
as long as
has been
it
success
meets a
stories.
basic bar of what you're looking for, the rest should be like being in very present in the moment and seeing where things go rather than trying to control, being like having so much chokehold on it, or because life is pretty random sometimes. It's almost like you're going on the apps and trying to look for your best friend. Like how hard was it? How hard is it to find a new best friend from scratch?
Yeah.
Like best friend took like years
Yeah,
to develop.
That's true.
And like so many different scenarios, and like just continuously seeing each other and wanting to talk over and over again, always wanting to connect with each other.
Yeah, like based on what you said about like, you know, just if you want to foster a deeper connection, you probably actually need to just spend more time with the person, to be honest. And sometimes that will require a long time, and it's not just based on like a few interactions online or like a few dates. Where like I feel like it has become the norm and the expectation these days to like have already know the answer whether you'll be like compatible or like get along in the long term just based on a few interactions, which I feel like is a little bit of an unrealistic expectation. Because I don't know, just like humans need time to build that layer of trust, layer of connection.
And you're still finding out about each other's values and what they care about and their long-term vision. It's like it is like picking a random person off the street and being like, oh, want to be my best friend, and like trying to force it to happen. You gotta see if it'll happen. We're in two totally different social circles. Two totally different upbringings.
I mean, like that does happen sometimes, or maybe not best friends, but you make a good friend like in an instant randomly.
Maybe it's like if it's like a friend's friend, I feel like that's the easiest because you already know you have shared values. That's when it happens quickest, I feel like.
But what are some of the things that you think, like, because you talked about previously, like, oh, you have to know what you like and what you don't like, and what your values are and what your deal breakers are. Like, what are some of the things for you guys? Like, and maybe like if you can share like your process of finding out what those things are.
Oh, for yourself.
For yourself.
I think for me, it's just like, okay, like 10, 20 years from now, think about the life you want to live. And what does that mean? Like, what kind of person you are at that point, and what kind of life do you envision yourself living? Who do you see as your partner in that scenario? And what would they bring to your life? And that's usually like your innate desire, or like the fundamental things you probably want in somebody else.
I guess for me, it's to find out. Sometimes I like maybe even think about the people that in my life that what values they have, what type of people do I respect, or what do they do, or what qualities they have, and then like also understanding a lot about myself and my past experiences, what has worked in relationships, what hasn't. I guess a lot of it is like trial and error, but also like just like seeing what resonates with you. What type of people do you typically gravitate towards, and making a list perhaps just to understand yourself better.
Yeah, that actually might be, speaking of criteria, like to make a list of the things you liked. Even if it didn't work out, it's like, what do you like from this? Like this...
Or the qualities of your best friends.
True.